Prophecies have foretold, and wisdom keepers all know, that the rise of the feminine will restore balance to our world.
In this podcast, we are on a journey to understand the root of the imbalance that has caused disconnection and dysfunction within our humanity, so we can emerge as leaders, creating a new story on Earth. I'm Lauren Walsh.
And I'm Shayna Connors. With humble hearts and open minds, we will converse with spiritual teachers, historians, psychologists, revolutionaries, leaders, and healers to navigate these evolving times and reintegrate the feminine history that we have forgotten.
Welcome to the Time of the Feminine podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to the Time of the Feminine podcast. I'm so excited to be here with a neighbor of mine who lives probably 20 minutes from me, but we just figured that out. Her name is Makhosi Himi Gogo Thule, and she is a devoted Sangoma, diviner, prayer, warrior, and healer, and recently a new mama. Sangoma is a Zulu term for a seer who brings forth messages from their ancestors to help or serve their community. This is a gift, a calling, a responsibility rooted in the indigenous cultural knowledge. Makhosi Himi's work as a bridge into shamanic ceremonial traditions from her lived cultural experiences, guided by the elevated ancestors of her lineage from Burkina Faso, South Africa, and ancient Kemet. Her healing practice is rooted in ancient African cosmologies, initiations, and spiritual traditions that elevate our consciousness to return harmony with our inner and outer nature. She walks the path of a wisdom keeper, devoted to preserving and honoring the ancestral way of healing. Welcome to the Time of the Feminine podcast.
Cool. Thank you so much. I feel super welcome, and I'm grateful that my ancestors and myself were invited into the space. Grateful to you and your spirits and your ancestors, your lineage, and the land that you come from, the traditions that spark your mind and heart, for inviting and remembering to include my voice and the mission that is above all of our seeing. And just grateful. I've definitely been feeling like I need to speak, and I didn't know how. So I just honored for this vessel and this pot that we can pour water in together. So what's that?
It's such an honor to have you, sister, and for you to share your voice and speak your truth, and for all of your ancestors and guides and wisdom keepers that are with you today. I feel them so present, and the waters, as we mentioned as well, so present here, the elements so present in this space, and so thank you. Thank you.
Thank us as one of our elders.
Thank us, you.
Says.
So I wanted to share with you and ask you, as your presence of a child that you just brought into this world 3 months ago, you're in the transition of becoming, you are a mother. You have become a mother. And so this question that we ask a lot of our guests, what does the time of the feminine mean to you, probably has transformed for you. So I'm curious to hear about, what does the time of the feminine mean for you, and how has that transformed as you've now been initiated into motherhood?
Yes. One of the great elders of the Sangoma tradition, or the Ubungoma tradition of Ukuthwasa, he calls this the Mothermind. And he has a really beautiful speech that he shares around this. And for me, in my own words, the time of the feminine is embracing the mother mind. And it seems like there's a mother mind and a father mind. And there's something about the mother mind that feels very inclusive. It includes the father. But I feel it and experience a lot from like the mother and child dynamic. I feel like I'm being called to remember what it means to be a mother, while also maintaining the fact that I'm a child, that I'm still learning to remain humble, but that I'm also this bright light in the lineage that has been called to do something and, take what I was given and take it further. That there is a mother that is trusting me Yes. And knowing that I have an imagination that was a little bit different from hers, that might not do things exactly the way that she did it. Makhosi, because I'm imagining something new, that's still a seed of hers, and to not be afraid to speak up, even to my mother, about it, about what the creative energy that she's given me is. It's about constantly seeing myself from both perspectives at the same time, the mother and the father, the feminine and the masculine, the mind and the heart, the water and the fire, the grandfathers and the grandmothers. It's just about respecting the mother again, and also addressing the wound of the mind, the wound of the masculine, the wound of certain aspects of the child within myself, to not just see it as this fight against something outside of myself, but that it's a conflict that I'm residing inside of myself, so I can see it and design it into this world, and create from a greater space in my heart and my mind, when that unity and that community comes back together, inside of me and around me.
I want to pull on this, remembrance that you're alluding to, because it's this, you're standing in your ancestry as this person to bring it further. But in that, there's also the going back, the remembering, the recalling something ancient and old that's also new. And so I want you to share in your perspective what that experience is like, as a human being, but also as a spiritual being.
On a very day-to-day level, that experience has been full of emotions, like an array. It's like initiating into emotions: anger, love, happiness, sadness, anxiety. Like, what do these emotions really mean? And so that means that I'm confronting myself with these feelings and confronting everybody else with these feelings. I'm like, do y'all feel this? What is going on? Why do I feel like this? Especially last year, it felt like this, I am feeling more. I'm seeing more. Who am I feeling like? Am I feeling like myself? Am I feeling like an ancestor? Am I feeling this person in this room? It feels sometimes chaotic. It feels sometimes like today the concept of dark night of the soul came up again. But at the same time, it also feels like this burst of inspiration where there's all these ideas coming through. Seeing what healing is more, seeing the people around me more. I work a lot in terms of divination, in terms of plant medicines, in terms of just spiritual and ancestral healing work. And it means that because I'm seeing myself as the mother and seeing myself as the child, it's challenged me to see everyone around me from a truer perspective, from a greater lens. Sometimes it means that I'm like the grandfather creating structure for my son, and okay, and now it's bedtime and this and that, and then he's talking back in his own way with tears or frustration or discomfort, and I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to be in the flow. And so I'm up and I'm moving and I'm jumping around, or I'm going outside and I'm putting my feet and his feet on the ground, and then I'm back on the computer and doing the structural creative things. And a lot of times it's also in terms of this energy of confrontation, it's about telling people the truth, telling, my partner the truth, telling my family the truth, telling my clients the truth. I just recently was called to send a really heartfelt message to my father, I think the day after Father's Day. And it was just about telling the truth, being okay with however way it was going to be received. And there's a spontaneous just nature to it.
So I'm curious about, where in your path you kind of decided that truth was a value that you were going to instill within yourself and expand out to all. How did that happen for you?
Yeah, it started what felt like a little early for me. In high school, I used to talk about this a lot. My best friend decided to change her religion. And, I was Catholic. She was a different type of Christian. I was just like, how do you know at a young age that truth for yourself? And because she mirrored it, I was just like, wow, I want to know, I want to feel that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I had this question around just, what is my life purpose? What am I here to do? And that just like a Pandora's box, like boom, opened up a journey that led me to curiosity, then anxiety, then some forms of depression. Nothing was directly wrong in my life, but I just felt a little bit off. And it was just like step by step, things started to open up and reveal themselves to me. The first, I think, spiritual book, which this friend happened to connect me with, was like Conversations with God. And it's like, once I started reading the beginning words of that book, it was addressing the things that were like keeping me up at night: guilt, sin, anxiety. And it was just like speaking to the things that I was thinking about, you know. And in reading that book, what I decided within myself was that if there's a soul, because I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, I don't feel like I have the answer. But if there's this concept of a soul, there's something inside of me that knows what it is that I'm here to do, and there's a possibility of getting to know that thing, then that's what I want to do until I find it, until I find the truth. And that was like a prayer that continued to, it was the same prayer. And there was a moment where I was like, I want to know the truth. What's going on with our food? You know, and I'm eating vegan, and I'm changing my lifestyle, and I'm traveling the world, and I'm learning about other alternative ways of doing things. I'm cutting my hair, and I'm going natural, and I'm doing all those typical things that lead us to the truth. I'm questioning my society. I'm questioning the things around me. I'm questioning myself. And it just, that prayer changed and changed and changed, but it was the same, like, I just want to know who I am in my soul. And I decided to stay with that question until I felt answered. And though there were difficult times, I constantly found something that birthed inspiration to continue to keep going.
So let's talk about that inspiration to keep going, you know, your path. Now, I imagine you've encountered teachers and teachings and spiritual tradition. And so can you share about how that kind of was guided?
Yeah. One of the sprouting experiences was that I just like got on Facebook, and I was like, I don't know anybody into this stuff, so I'm just going to start adding people on Facebook that seem like they're into these things. And one of the Black sisters that I joined was promoting a retreat called the Black Woman's Agenda, and it was led by this chief-like Black woman, and it was my first retreat. They invited a Native African-American healer to do the sweat lodge ceremony. And I'm in the sweat lodge, I'm naked, I'm on the ground. There's all these women singing and praying and pouring water. And I'm not feeling a whole lot of things besides just being really hot and thus low to the ground to get some of the fresh air. That's the only thing coming through. But I'm just like, these women are going into trance. They're having these amazing experiences, and I get to be a part of it. It just felt magical. And we step outside, we go into the river and the water, and another woman speaking about doing this work more deeply and by connecting this elder. And this elder, my first teacher, Yeye Gogo Nana, she saw me. She saw what I couldn't see. She was a beautiful, bright goddess energy, and I just trusted her. I got a reading from her. She channeled my ancestors. I heard from my ancestors for the first time. And I was like, oh, they have a lot to say. They think a lot about me. And apparently there's something that they want me to do. And, you know, she affirmed for me that, like, what she was doing was something that I was supposed to be doing. And I didn't know, I didn't have a lot of understanding. My family have a lot of dark stories to say about African spirituality. But I just trusted the light in my teacher and followed her. I followed what she could see in me that I couldn't see within myself. And it was in trusting and starting the steps, starting the rituals, starting the prayers, starting the behaviors that my ancestors did to remember themselves, that then I started to awaken to my dreams and my senses, and I started to see for myself what she was seeing. And I was just committed. I was like the student that was like swinging the apple and running around and picking up things and doing what I could, even though I wasn't feeling and seeing it for myself all the way. Like, my initiation felt very long, but it always bared fruit.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, once you're on the spiritual path, you have to continue to remember that you have to give up in order to receive. There's a lot of challenge. There's a lot of times where sometimes you can't see clearly. And so that's why the teachers are so important. So can you maybe share about, your initiations and what that process was like for you? And yeah.
Yeah. And the Ubungoma tradition, the process of initiation is called Ukuthwasa. And it is a process of cleansing. It's a process of releasing. It's a process of death and rebirth. It's very much like the monk path in that there are certain protocols that we move throughout the day. We dress a particular way. There are certain colors that we wear. There are particular times in which we pray, particular medicines that we use to purge and cleanse and bathe, particular locations in nature that we spend time and cleanse at in order to merge and understand those spirits and also release the stories that are coming. So we work with plant medicines, different cleanses, prayers, dance, songs. We learn the prayers in the languages of the tradition, the songs in the language of the tradition. And this tradition is especially a dreaming tradition. So you move through these processes of cleansing, and then it opens up your dreams. You remember, you see your ancestors. Your ancestors give you instructions. They show you things. They show you what they were like. They show you things within yourself that you need to see and understand. And step by step, it's like it's getting you to the next thing. So there's no like final date. It's like when you're shown and the elders see that you're seeing what you're supposed to be seeing at that moment, that you pass through to the next gate and the next space, and graduate. But then you figure out that there's no such thing as graduation, and that life is an initiation. But yeah, that was pretty much the process. In our tradition, we are, you can tell by just observing us that it's very primal. We're on our knees a lot, on the ground a lot. You may see us in red clay and white powders. Yes. In many different beaded colors to represent the ancestors and the processes of understandings and knowledge and that we're moving through. Yeah, that's the first thing that I could think of to say. There's also very difficult parts about it. To wake up every day at an hour, to spend a lot of time away from your family, to sacrifice your time, your resources, your finances, in a world that doesn't house initiation anymore the way that it was, where you're not allowed to go into a cave and just disappear and come back and everything be in place for you. So now we're doing it and working and at a distance and online and using all the communications and the technologies that we can to keep these traditions alive.
And so I'm curious about, the opening up the dream state, because in modern culture, we don't even think of dreams as important at all, but in most spiritual traditions around the world, dreams are very important, and they come with a lot of messages, and it's a way to connect to our ancestors. And so perhaps if you can share some insights you've had about the dream world and what you've come to understand about it.
Yes, this is my favorite topic, as you may know. I understand the dreams that we have when we go to sleep are maps. They are navigation points. They are spaces of initiation. They are ways that we can travel back to the timelines that our ancestors are from, what lands they were a part of, what animal totems they were connected to, or animal spirits, and to just review the movie of their life and to review the movie of our soul's experiences throughout time. There is space for us to just mirror and see our shadows. There are times where we are just seeing things about our day and feelings that we felt we didn't tap into. We didn't go deep. Because we weren't present in the moment in the day. The dream takes you and gives you all these memories and metaphors so that you understand the language that you're missing in the day as well. They're answers, they're prophecies. They're telling you what's coming. They're telling you where you've been. What's hidden, what's missing, what's the answer to my question. They're a form of communication. They're like a telephone line to our grandmothers and our grandfathers and to the trees, which we have forgotten how to communicate to the plants. Yes. They are a library of music, songs. They inspire celebrities and artists all around the world. They inspire equations and scientists just to wake up in the morning and to have an idea. And dreams are so beautiful that they expand beyond what you do when you sleep. Dreams are also the visions that you have in the day. Dreams are also the random places that your mind goes and imagery appears. We can interpret all of those things like a dream. We could look at all of those things as an initiation, a part of the initiation that life is teaching us through as well. Of course.
So because our culture is so disconnected from the dream space, and I imagine a lot of people listening, either don't remember their dreams, have a hard time like recalling their dreams, or have trouble even understanding what their dream is trying to tell them. And so do you have any things to share about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's many things around recall. One is first intention. Because we've been moved away from accepting and respecting dreaming as something that is valuable, we need to articulate and affirm, like when you were younger and they said like, oh, monsters aren't real, dreams aren't real, these aren't real. It's time to re-educate your mind and to say, this is real. I accept the value in this. I want to get to know this. I want to spend time remembering, documenting your dreams, sharing your dreams. The things you talk about show what you care about and value and what you want to know more about. Everyone's, talks about, collect a dream journal. And I recommend that, but I also recommend like making it a lifestyle, because our ancestors woke up and they shared dreams together in circle in the midst of going to this place and this thing. Like it was a part of life. Yeah, there are times where you want to keep certain dreams to yourself, but it's like, it's a living, breathing experience. As you're talking about it, sometimes you remember more, you start to have this deja vu feeling, right? So engaging with your dreams, not just on a write down, but like think about how you can engage your dreams with all of your senses. And of course, there are nice plants, sweet plants, simple plants, subtle plants that help us to just recall, from the mugworts to the different medicines that we use in our tradition, such as Impepo, which is a sacred herb that we use as a ritual incense, that helps us clear the mind and the third eye, and the smoke helps us also to dream with our ancestors. So there are simple plants and teas that we can take. We can engage in conversation. We can say to our ancestors that this is something that's valuable. One of my favorite things to say is that a lot of times there's already some way that you're connected to your dreams. Like you said, some people are remembering it, but they're not understanding. And that to me is where, the elder council, and to me, eldership isn't just about like the older people, it's just someone who knows. An elder is just someone who knows, someone who remembers, and someone who can add a tip or two for you. And so sharing with people who are dreamers, who are carrying the dream tradition, allowing your dreams to be heard by the elders, will help guide you and also put elders back into their place in our society.
Can you share about, the elders being put back into their place in our society? Because in our current society, especially in white culture, we've like shipped our ancestors or our elders off into old people's homes. We've disconnected that line. And so I'm curious from your perspective, like, I'm really curious about your vision, because I can see that you're walking towards something and that you dream and that you have vision and all these kinds of things. So perhaps, even seeing where we are now, what kind of disconnection that creates, and then where we're going.
I feel like, it's important for us to reinstill eldership and the concept of eldership, especially from a spiritual level. I think about how even in ancient civilizations, a politician, a teacher, a mother, they would consult the elders and the oracles before they made moves, right? Before they went to war, before they built a school on this land next to this mountain, they asked the mountain or the tree how they would feel if we did this thing here. how do we need to collaborate so that this works and that the tree doesn't fall on the school, disrupting the education, right? Because we didn't listen. Bringing the elders back brings back in a deeper sense of listening into our society. And it also gives our elders nourishment for them to feel like what they know, what they've lived, what they experienced is valuable to us. That's loving. Some of our elders, you know, those that are sitting in those homes is what I see in those. Now it's like, I can't even think of the word of those homes for elders, but it's like we're making them feel like what they've experienced, what they've learned, what they've sacrificed isn't valuable. That no one wants to hear their stories anymore, or there's no use for them. When it's very valuable. When we're sitting here with like questions, I'm a mom and I'm like, I didn't have my mom ask certain questions. You know, and when she was around, she would just tell me about things that mothers do in Burkina Faso, and she doesn't even remember why, you know, when a baby is drinking the milk and he starts coughing up off of the milk and you blow with their forehead, you know, she says she doesn't know what it means. It's just what they do, but maybe there's something disrupting the receiving of milk and nourishment that we're just blowing away. That doesn't disrupt the child and the environment. Something so simple that could be valuable to us getting through the day with our child. How much more valuable that could be in an institution, in a world, is what I see in my vision and my value. And I see, you know, the call for, you know, this, I feel like we're all feeling this sense of community and collaboration, and the elders are a part of that. We need them to be able to take these things, these plans, these journeys, and come out of it in a way that's well, to help us from being stuck in some of these loops. They've seen it, they've done it, they know. And we also have things to share with them that can inspire them as well, to see things differently and to evolve the knowledge that they have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the mirror, you know, with the younger generation being the reflection for them as they evolve too. Like we're all on this path together, and I think that's one of the things that we're healing in a big way. You know, with these next coming generations, is this hierarchy. You know, having put people on the pedestal, and like what that continues to do for us is
for me,
healthy.
it's like,
So
yeah, and to me, there's something about that makes me feel like it allows us all to transition, because we lose family members, they get older, they pass, and it's like there's something about that is going to also help the transition. You know, some people lose a family member and then the whole family feels it, and they acknowledge like things have not been the same since this person has passed, because there's something that they knew, there's something that was a part of their legacy, there's something that they kept talking to the family to do, and nobody, you know, took on the task to continue it, that is creating a lot of hostility in the family. And that's something that I see all the time as a diviner, as a healer, working with people and their family stories. That is an ongoing space of healing that is occurring.
So I want to ask you, you know, you had the gift in this life to get to find these ancient practices, these spiritual traditions that touch this part of your soul. And what I love about what you're exhibiting in the world is also giving back, you know, through your foundation and preserving indigenous culture and, you know, creating sanctuaries for healing and all these kinds of things. So can you share a little bit about what that was for you, like what you received, and then how you feel called to give back?
Yeah. Initially, when I finished my initial spiritual process, I just felt so blessed by the experience. Like, wow, thank you for allowing me to remember. Thank you for reparenting me. This was such a gift, and I just want to share this gift with other people, whether that's on the level of just being abused or on the level of actually getting my hands in it and helping to lift things up and shift things. And so I just wanted to share. And for a while, they were telling me to, like, just the thing that made the most sense was like a nonprofit organization, but I didn't listen for a long time. And it wasn't until like the end of 2021. So I was just like, I'm just going to do this, fill out the form. I don't know what it's going to be. And literally that February, we did an in-person 1 month long immersion that was crazy wild. I can't believe I did that, but it emerged and birthed all of these things. As I'm typing like the stuff that's going to go on the website, I'm channeling my ancestors. So like, this is what it is, and this is what it is, and this is what it is. We're going to preserve rites of passages, bring rites of passages back into our society in a way that's tangible and accessible. We're going to bring the elders back. We're going to bring them closer to people, not just invite someone that's read a book about it, but that's lived it, right? And let people meet those people. We're going to bring people back to the land. Like, yes, we're away from it. Yes, we're digital. Yes, we're using technology. But if there's an opportunity to travel to the lands where this come from, let's do it. Yes, let's record the songs that we can. It was just like, boom, 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 boom. And I didn't know it was going to be these things. And I'm still getting to know what the organization is. It's birthing and growing all the time. But it seems like we're all being shown very similar things. Community, healing circles, universities that are, it's like reimagining all the institutions that already exist. And we might not all have our hands in all of it, but we'll find and see what part is ours. I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm setting something up that might be passed on to somebody else, maybe the youth. And other times I feel like I'm because I really didn't want to be the healer that was on the stage. I really would have been fine remaining the assistant to the healer and the shaman. So I'm also accepting that there's something that I'm supposed to show on the stage, and then my act will be finished and I'll go home and eat some plantains and some good food. Yeah, that's how I feel about it in this moment. There's probably more official and business-like things that I could say, but that's what I feel.
Mm-hmm. I mean, but from what I hear of you, it's just, the reason that you're being asked to be on the stage is because of that humility you have inside. Like, I was just okay being the assistant, and it's like, that's the person we want on the stage, in this time, as we're all collectively relearning who we are as peoples of this earth. That's who we need on the stage.
Thank you.
But I get that it can feel like a lot of things to be asked for that.
Yeah.
And I want to bring up too what you were sharing about, receiving all this. Hello, little baby. So she just brought her baby to be fed. So sweet.
Sweetest.
Yes. So I want to ask you, in receiving, this vision that you share is going to be perhaps passed on to other people and all these kinds of things, like, what has that process been like for you these days? Like, how are you learning to embody the part you're playing, as it continues to change?
Right now I'm learning to kind of like just share. Like, I was like, okay, I'm just going to get on the podcast and share, because the things that are coming through don't belong to me. It's like they do, but they don't. And if it's not shared, then it'll pass and on to the next person. If I'm not willing to be the mic or the speaker or the organization for it, it'll just go to somebody else. And so right now I'm just like saying yes to a lot of things. I'm saying yes to the interview. I'm saying yes to shamanic and rites of passage students, bringing them in, sharing the medicines with them. And behind this, it's scenes, it's like just being resourceful, right, with the people that we have, and mindful and sustainable, right? Doing what we can with what we have is kind of, because there's so many big things that we could be doing, and we're always being guided and told, you should be doing this, you should be doing this, you should go here and go stand over there and go do that, and all these instructions from the outside world. And I'm constantly just trying to sit still and be like, okay, but this is what we can do. This is what we have. This is also what's naturally flowing. Right now, what's naturally flowing is allowing people to go through their rites of passages, sharing the medicine with them, singing the songs, opening up our space. A few people that can be there, going to the rivers, going to the ocean, and sharing the little bits and pieces of what we're doing along the way online, fundraising along the way, and speaking to the angels that are appearing around us. Because last year it just felt like, the little bit that we were sharing was sparking things inside of people, and they were just showing up as angels to support and saying, yes, I'm here to help, and I can help in this way. And being let me tell you, accepting help was a big lesson for me. Accepting help, accepting being led as I'm being a leader in that way, and also believing in the slow process of growth. My ancestors are always reminding me about how long it may have took for the pyramids to be built, and being okay with the slow pace and the things that are growing incrementally. I feel like I'm being airy-fairy, but that's in a grounded way. It's like we get up every day, we do the rituals that we're called to do, we do our prayer times, and we follow the spark and the flow.
Yeah, it's always a good remembrance to, even when I talk to my elders, right? And I have an elder, she's 92 years old, and she's always reminding me of that she started teaching in her 80s, and so I'm just reminded of the path sometimes, like you were mentioning the pyramids. It's good to be in our flow, and it's good to listen, and it's good to slow down, and to just be with what is. And there was one thing I wanted to ask you a question about, because, I think for many people that are learning to listen, it can be really difficult because we have so much conversation that's already happening, that's programmed, that's noisy, all the stuff that's going on. And so how does one begin to truly listen and to recognize what is truth?
There are many listening practices, such as meditation, and there's a really interesting style of yoga that I learned about recently, which is Nada yoga, the yoga of listening. And they're teaching me about how this is embedded in traditions and culture. And for us, the Nada yoga is the song. We sing songs and we listen to songs. Many songs in African traditions have a call and response. There's a part that you say, and there's a part that you listen to. Mandatory. There's a part that you say, and there's a part that you listen to. In this modern time, also, people are listening to, the hertz frequencies, the different hertz frequencies, right? I was in the tub with water, and I was listening to these frequencies, and I was thinking at the same time, and the ancestors were like, are you listening or are you talking over the sound? Right? And it's just and so they just made me sit and lift my ear up in the air and just sit and see how much of the sound I could just take in. And this is just it's not a practice, it's just mindfulness. We can be mindful in many different ways, right? So practicing mindfulness, practicing different forms of meditations in a way that's embodied and living and moving, right? So you can sit down and do a meditation, but there's people all around us. Sometimes, you're listening to a person and you're looking them in their face and you're waiting, you're thinking and you're listening, or you could just close your eyes, right? Because sometimes you're listening and you're making a lot of assumptions and attachments about their tone, about their attitude, about the shapes that their face is making. Maybe close your eyes, right? Tap into that space that they say sometimes activates DMT, the spirit molecule, and just listen to what the person is saying. And then listen some more. And then review again what they said. What else do you see? What else do you sense? What else do you feel? Oh, you felt offended. What else do you sense? What else do you feel? What else is there? What's beneath there? And then what's at the root of that? And then what's at the root of that? We come from root traditions. Oh, listen. Listen to the root. of this person, of this tree, of this society, of this road, of this technology. Know that there's something beneath the layer. Oh, you thought you heard it. Listen to it again. This is why African people repeat themselves so many times and tell these long stories. Your grandmothers are like, you wasn't listening the first time. We're going to tell you again.
That was really fun for me to just like really drop in and listen, because it's true in our society and our culture where there's so much embedded in our minds and our sight. And I think the gift of listening is maybe less practiced. And so I'm curious, you're talking about the roots, you're going into the earth, right? Like, do you believe that the roots, that we need to do anything to help the roots, or the roots are there, like everything we need through the roots is there? Like, what is the part of us in this culture that's healing? Do we have to go into the roots to heal, or is it our connection to the roots?
Both and together. In a visual, esoteric way, and in a very physical way. A lot of the medicines that we use in our tradition in Ubungoma are roots of trees. In the rites of passages, you commune and you pray with the trees, and they connect you to the trees of your lineage and your family, and then the stories emerge from the trees and speak to you in your dreams. So it's literal, and then it's also metaphorical. Spend time in nature is a way of rooting, right? You can look at rooting from what you're doing with your chakras, right? That root chakra work, and then you go up to the sacral, and then you go up to the heart, and then you go up to the crown, and you go up and down until everything is well and in harmony again. Everything that we're doing is rooting. A lot of these traditions, it's like a code that is reappearing itself many times. For me, it's just about recognizing the things that are blocking the roots, that are putting the roots in jail, in prison. There's like a lake right here, and it's just like closed off by a fence, and you can't even get to the water. So it's just seeing those blockages along the line, along the lineage, and it's in everything.
You're a Wonder Woman.
I love that movie so much. Thank you.
Oh my God, I love that movie too.
Whoa.
I just also watched, right? I know.
Really.
Did you watch Woman King too?
I'm obsessed.
Oh,
These movies that are so spiritual. They're so spiritual. Oh, they're activating our inner child so much.
I know. And it's bringing that warrior spirit. Like, I have that inside. I know it, but to see it,
Yes.
and to see these women, like these really strong women together, and how strong we are when we're together.
Yes. Can I say a little chant?
Can you speak about that? Yeah, please.
Together we got to be. Together we get to be. Together we get to be. Together we get to be. This simple prayer came to me in ceremony, plant medicine ceremony, and as I was singing, I was listening to the song at the same time, and the song was telling me from my higher self that I was feeling discouraged. Like, how am I going to feel able and like to move through darkness, suffering, difficult things, the things in this world? And I remember the part of my soul that knows that it feels worth it, and it feels like we're able when we do it together. And it wasn't just a message, it was a feeling in my heart to help me like feel encouraged by it. So, just grateful.
And so can we talk about the healing of togetherness and what you've come to learn around how we can, open our hearts to community, to our sisterhood, to our brothers, like how we really like enable more connection for ourselves?
Yeah, I was on another talk where I expressed and remembered, like, wow, it's like the direction I feel we're moving in, but it's also the most courageous thing that I think that we can do. The most courageous thing to do, and is to remember and embrace togetherness. And I feel like the deep listening thing that I was saying is what we need because it's hard. Our attachments, the things that we're offended by, the ways that we think that we're so different. It's like all this muck that we got to move through together. All these people that we got to sit at a table with that we didn't, it was just like, no, y'all canceled. I don't want y'all. I don't want to do, like, can y'all go in another section of the world so we don't got to, it's like you got to deal with all of those feelings. You got to deal with all those people that annoy you, that talk too much, and like see beyond that. To remember why you're doing this with them again this lifetime, or to sit with them and learn that all you're being asked to do is to just speak up and tell your truth. It's courageous to sit around and like deal with these things with one another and not break up the relationship. I think, I appreciate all the energy that is going around shadow work right now, and us accepting that what we see in another is something that we need to acknowledge and remember within ourselves. Like that to me is the key ingredient in making this work, this thing of togetherness. Also this acceptance that everyone is gifted and we're all capable, but like give some people, like we all have a specialty. It doesn't mean that you can't do that too and do that too, but like it's okay if you're not the one that does that. You let that person shine. Let them be a star in that, right? You don't have to be the star that's taking up and shining everywhere and everyone. No one else gets to shine. How can we take turns in a way that's sustainable and no one is suffering? I think the things that are challenging us about community are just asking us to change our society. It was like, I want you to change and you to change and you to change and you to be a different person. But it's just pushing us and triggering us to change our society, because really it's just the environment that's making it a little bit more difficult, the way that we structured it. Yeah, I could say more, but those are the main things. I said on my podcast that we are all taking our own times to wake up, and we're all being very patient with one another through it. Our higher self is, it's taking time. We're figuring out, it's getting messy sometimes. There's great illnesses and great wars and all of this stuff. But all our higher collective higher selves are just like very patient with one another, very kind, still willing to witness, still willing to try, still waiting for the togetherness. There's a part of your inner child that's waiting to play with my inner child, that knows that this world is set up, we're restructuring things, and I'm just waiting to play with you. You forgot how to play. But I'm going to dance around and make some jokes and get on your nerves and be very comedic until you remember how to play with me again. And I'm going to try to recognize that when you're getting on my nerves, there's something about your inner child that's trying to trick me into remembering something too. And let it be a little bit more playful is one of the things that I'm seeing.
Yeah, I find that play, that joy, that energy of like jubilance to kind of like break down some of these like harder, difficult aspects that somehow keep us from relating and seeing one another. But in our culture here in the United States, let's say, you were talking about, we've kept our roots in prison. Like there's so much of our capacity of as humans that we've kind of imprisoned. And so there's like this needing to like break out, to free, to open, to express, to speak, to be in our truth, to pray, to remember. And I'm curious of like, what is your way of freeing yourself, helping other people free themselves, like allowing that truth, that freedom to speak through?
I like being creative and inspirational. I love singing songs. I love chanting, inviting people into artistic things and conversations about dreams and ancestors and storytelling. Um, these are things that are just always happening along the way. But what I'm dedicated to, and for me, what the target is, where my arrow is pointed and landing on, is right now is rites of passage. Only because for me, rites of passage means that I'm not just giving you the fish, but I'm teaching you how to fish. I'm like, you're going to do it. You're going to find it. You're going to go into your cave. I climbed up the mountain. I keep climbing the mountain. You're coming up the mountain. Okay. This is the mountain. It's over here. Go there. Climb it with your feet and your hands, your heart and your mind. You make the shift. This is your work. This is what you're here to do. Like, how can I affirm what your destiny is? How can I show you, point to your path? There's this, a part of mothering has taught me a little bit around this like dark mother, the mother that we hate, the mother that we think that doesn't like us, the mother that we think is and mean, and she can be mean, I can be mean, I can be rough, I can be all those things. But usually when our mothers are really mean or hard, sometimes, right? I don't know everybody's situation, but it's because they're pointing at some shadowy, triggery thing that really needs to heal.
I recently became a cat mom, which is different than a real mom, but it's similar in some ways. What this woman shared with me, she's like, plant medicines can only take you so far. They kind of have a boundary of what you're able to receive from them. And she's like, but mothering's not like that. She's like, the first time I touched like that desire to kill, this like really dark mother stuff that you're talking about, she's like, was with my child. And it's been interesting because I felt that with my cat, like I've woken up in the middle of the night, my cat's meowing and all this kind of stuff. And I feel this like energy of like, I want to throw my cat. And I'm like, where does that come from? Like violent. And to really like touch that shadow recently and be like, oh God, like, okay, that's here too. That's okay. But like, how do we want to be with that essence that's there? So, and what do you feel like was the most surprising thing for you?
I mean, I feel like we know that some feminine women will give their masculine partner a hard time as they're transitioning from maiden into mother. But me, I literally turned into a black widow and I bit his head off. Wow. The first 3 weeks, I was rough. But it's like, at that there was an aspect of this dark mother thing, but it was medicine. You know how like they say the spirits of animals, they come and bite you or they come and do these things. They're crawling and trying to take things off of you that no longer belong and no longer work. And it was like, even though it was hard and that probably was really rough, like it also was very transformative. I hope, I pray. I didn't do too much.
I hope. Yeah. I feel that. And just thinking about it, right? Like you went through a natural rite of passage. Giving birth, bearing a child, like carrying it in your belly is a rite of passage. But men don't have that in the same way. And so I bet your black widow head biting stuff in a way initiated him in a way that he couldn't have received unless you were there to birth that creature through yourself for him.
And it initiated me at the same exact time, because it was really like, how courageous can you be about speaking just the truth of what you feel right now, no matter how ugly. And sometimes I'm scared about like, what is it, masculine, like, what am I doing to my courage? But it's just like, I'm just trusting, and also finding humility and slowing down and taking a step back and being like, okay, that's enough. Let me go sit myself down and deal with whatever's going on with me first as well. But yeah, that's a lesson I'm in.
Yeah. Well, so many blessings for this transition. It's so gorgeous to be speaking to a new mom. And just, I one of the reasons I do the work that I do is because when I became initiated myself into this mission that I had within myself, I started to see how women were like not a part of the equation, especially mothers, and the equation being like our capitalist imperialist system kind of like swept moms and caretakers under the rug. And the more I see, the more amazed I am that this isn't like something that everybody talks about because I'm like, doesn't everybody see this? But I have so much respect for mothers because I'm like, that's some of the most important work on the whole planet. Literally every single person is here because of a mother. And so it's super powerful.
It's super deep. And even before it's like, I feel like now I understand the little things that my ancestors were showing me, or even my mind and my higher self was showing me around motherhood. When I was in my 20s, I just had this feeling of like, there should be villages of mothers. There should be places where if a mother can't take care of her children, she can just hand that child off to a village of mothers that take care of them. Like they would just give me these like just ideas that I've never thought of or seen in our society, like making me feel like, why isn't it just like complete the whole society to be structured around mothers? Like, we're the most valuable commodity. Like, come on. It's just, and then it's like you give birth. I was just saying this, you give birth. It's a surgery that you don't have time to recover from before now starting a new life. Like you're automatically healing, you're nourishing, you're breastfeeding, you're all the things, even with help. Like you had surgery, even if you had a natural birth, things were rewired and restructured. My tailbone ain't never gonna be the same. And I was recovering and being a warrior mother goddess at the same time. Most people get to recover after surgery, guys, and then go back to work. And the universe just implanted that naturally. Like that's what motherhood is.
I'm calling in that village of mothers for my life. It just doesn't make any sense that it would be any other way. Like I look at the way our society is set up, and I have a lot of teachers that talk about why it's set up this way to protect this like dominator culture, however different people describe it. But in a village, in a community, there's a sharing of responsibility, and it's so much more rewarding, in my opinion, to be surrounded by other people and to have many moms to your child and to have many caretakers and aunties and uncles and people that are participating in the child's life and also your life, because it can be so isolating in this society as a mother.
Yes. Please, love on a mother. Give her access to everything.
Yeah.
Listen to her. But being very, very playful and not too serious. And it's like, it'll bring good health and resources to everyone. As a dream interpreter, there's just certain signs and symbols that I see. Like there's a masculine energy mirrored in my environment that is like, there's a lot of signs and symbols of poverty around them. And it's so directly correlated to a feminine energy that is not being listened to and just embraced inside of them. It's like, it's the mother of nurturing and nourishment. Like, if you don't take care and listen to the mother, how will you feel healthy? How will you have the resources, the agriculture that you need to create? Yeah, we can go on. And there's been so many women that have said it so many times, so much better than we have. And so many grandmothers who are tired of saying it. So us young folks are going to continue on to sing their songs until it's fully heard.
Mm-hmm. And to be those spiders, to be those black widows, to really create the transformation and the healing and the weaving, between us all with our different missions, with our different pillars, with our different, star shine that we're here to bring and create tapestry together of, what our collective dream is.
Quotes.
So for our final question, if you were to channel the Great Mother herself, Pachamama, the Earth Mother, to our audience, what would she have you say?
Her mothering energy is so alive and so already present everywhere, all around you, inside of you, outside of you. She's in your hands and the things that you want to create. She's in the steps that you're taking to move forward and seeking your destiny. She's very impressed by you. She has think about how a mother just completely, unwaveringly loves her child. And like, there's that much love that loves you. Beyond these people, you think these people, oh, they don't love you, they don't do this for you. She is loving you to be in the midst of all of that. A child has to choose to receive a mother's love. And a child has to accept, or it can accept all the ways that a mother loves. A mother loves sweetly, a mother loves harshly, a mother is sometimes absent, and she's still loving you. Even when she's not in the room, even when you think that she's hidden somewhere, or she's escaped, or someone took her, she's still there in the other room. Some people call that realm the spirit realm. Some people call that room the heart. Sometimes they say you can access it through meditation. Sometimes it's a spontaneous moment of awakening. Sometimes it's random. Sometimes there's structure and order. If you do this thing every day, you will find her. But a lot of times it's random. Always accessible. Open up your eyes. Ask yourself, where is the mother in this flower? Where is the mother in this house? Where is the mother in this tree? Where is the mother in this vehicle? Where is the mother in this concrete jungle? Even in the concrete, she's piercing through. Where is the mother in this person that I'm speaking to? Where is the mother in this person that I'm most frustrated with? The biggest ego, the biggest trickster in my life. How is the mother hidden in this situation? That feels very difficult. That feels very dark. Why is all of these empires and buildings falling all around me? Is it the mother tree trying to emerge from all this structure that I've created that's limiting? It was great. It was wonderful. But now she wants to give you more. Can you expand? Oh, one of my students has this beautiful song that I just want her to sing, but I'm going to shout her out, her and her ancestors right now. From the Divine Mother in her, who says, how much love can you stand? Can you expand? Can you expand? Gogo Yama, Jillian Root Walker. How much love can you stand? Can you expand? Can you expand? How much love can you stand? Can you expand? Can you expand? Okay, so goes that knuckles. Thank you for letting me be silly and real at the same time.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so it is.
Close. Miracle.
Will you share with our audience about how they can find your magic and your wisdom and connect with you?
You can find me on the most important mission that I'm on right now, which is MakhosiFoundation.org. You can also see me on MakhosiStarMother.com. On Instagram, I am Makhosi-Star Mother. And I have a lovely podcast called Ancestral Dreams that's on Spotify and Apple and other things. Those are some of the most creative spaces that you can find me.
Thank you so much for being here today. It's such an honor to be in this space with you, especially as you're emerging from just having given birth 3 months ago, and it feels like a beautiful transition process for you. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me. Thank us, thank the ancestors, thank the land, and thank the beauty that is trying to emerge in this world through the Mothermind in this time of the feminine. And thank you to the traditions that have given me permissions to express myself in my own way while just carrying something that's very old and ancient and can't just be embodied by me, but all of us all together. In our own flavors and colors. Okay.
Thank you for listening to the Time of the Feminine podcast. See you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Time of the Feminine podcast. It is such an honor every time to be able to host these conversations and to share the stories of the beautiful people we get the opportunity to interview. And so if you enjoyed this podcast, please go ahead and leave us a review. You can do so on Apple Podcasts and write a nice note, or you can do so on Spotify by leaving stars. We so appreciate every single one of you that's taken the effort to go out and to share with others and with our community about how this podcast has touched you. It really means so much to us, and for us, this is a labor of love. And so thank you for giving back in that way.